The Penguin. Is it any good? The answer is yes. Episode 8 dropped a couple of days ago, so the whole series is out now. If you haven't seen it, I recommend watching this show. This is a fantastic show, a bit of a sleeper. I don't think anybody was expecting this show to be any good. Superhero films or series are a bit of a dime a dozen, and this one I think has taken everyone by surprise. So The Penguin, if you haven't seen it, what is it about? Well, it follows Oz Cobb. He, in the comic books and now the movies, he's known as Oswald Cobblepot. I think they changed his name to Oz Cobb to make it a bit more realistic, to fit the realism of the show. And it chronicles his rise to power in Gotham City's criminal underworld. The series depicts his struggle for control of the crime family empire, contending with the daughter of his late boss, Carmine Falcone, who was killed in the movie, which took place before this. And this series sets up very nicely for the following film. Sophia Falcone's character, played by Krista Milotti, she's really good in this. She essentially becomes a psychopathic serial killer in her own right. Or to put it bluntly, is turned into one when she is locked up in Arkham Asylum for crimes she didn't commit. This is a very interesting story arc for her, because when we meet her, I mean, she's part of the criminal underworld as a daughter of a crime boss, but she's basically a good person, I think, but she's really turned into a vengeful, revenge-filled individual after, getting out of the asylum, and is really a worthy contender to Oz in this show. Oz is really good, played by Colin Farrell. You can't see Colin Farrell in this. I mean, if you look at his eyes, you can sort of pick out that it's Colin Farrell underneath all that makeup, but if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't recognise him. He really falls into this character beautifully. He's very much a sociopath in this film, Oz, and the series does a really great job making you feel at first sympathetic to him, but the show never quite lets you get all the way with that sympathy, reminding you time and time again that he is in fact a villain, and really is quite, shows no remorse really, and he shows all the traits of a sociopath, which is a lack of empathy, superficial charm, difficulty recognizing emotion, deception, lying, all those sort of things. Everything he's doing is really to further his own needs and desires. And well, we see this, in some quite difficult scenes, especially towards the end. Will be some spoilers here. I'm assuming most people have seen the show by now, where he kills young Vic simply because he knows that he served his purpose. There's no point having him there anymore, and it'd be potentially dangerous in the future that he could turn on him, and he doesn't bat an eyelid in doing this. He just does it and seemingly shows no remorse. It's just something he needs to do to further his own ambitions. All the actors in this show did a really good job. The young boy playing Vic, with the stutter, he did really well. Oz's mother is a really interesting character. You really do feel a lot of sympathy for her in episode either 6 or 7 when we find out what Oz did to his two brothers when he was a young boy, and we find out that his mother actually was aware of what happened, or found out what happened, but didn't say anything to him. You get an idea of how that would have tortured her really for the rest of her life, and gives you some idea of the state she's in, the mental state she's in. She's sort of obviously not quite all there, in this show. The look and feel of the show is It's really a bit like The Sopranos, to be honest. It could be any sort of crime drama. It just happens that it's set in the Batman universe. So I think this is going to make a really interesting movie coming up. The second Batman film under the Matt Reeves Batman universe. The first one was pretty good with the Riddler as the main villain. I think we saw the Joker in the prison at the end there, so he's hanging around and going to make an appearance at some point. We don't know where or how or when. It's pretty obvious that the Penguin's going to be the main villain in this film, though. And like I said, I think that the really good job that this series did was it's easy to get into the trap when you're making a show about a villain to turn that villain into a bit of an anti-hero where you sort of support him and you have a bit of sympathy for him. I thought it was going that way, but towards the end of the series, they really don't allow you, any sympathy that you do have for Oz is really lost by the end of the show. And I think that's really important, because I think when you get into the movie, it's important that we're going to be going for Batman and hoping that he defeats the villain. And that we don't have any sympathy for the villain. I think that's important that the movie is set up that way. And it doesn't fall into the trap of allowing us to have too much sympathy for Oz. It sort of leads you a bit there, and then it takes you away. It takes you away from that through his actions. So I thoroughly recommend this show. I think it's a fantastic show. Totally unexpected that it was going to be this good. And I think the show is definitely going to add to the upcoming movie when it comes out. Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did. Bye-bye.